I saw this. It was one of those suggested documentaries you might like. Discovery Plus, you know me so well.
You guys, this documentary is so good. I really cannot believe how good this is.
It is also wild.
Yeah.
It's also a goddamn roller coaster.
Get ready for an hour of shenanigans.
Lock in, pull the hell over, don't even leave your house. Let's do it.
Hi, Julia Bezzavali.
Hi, Patrick Hines.
You guys, welcome to True Crime Obsessed. I feel like we don't welcome them often enough.
Yeah, and that's wrong because I feel like it's implied, but we should do that more. I agree.
And you are such a polite person.
I am bringing all of you a bottle of wine or your favorite sparkling water.
You guys, if you want more shenanigans with Jillian and me, join us on the Patreon. We are really doing great, fun, hilarious work over there. It's where we do all of the long-form series. So we are wrapping up the Preppy Murder. We did I'll Be Gone in the Dark. We did
Night Stalker, The Jinx. We're going right into Gacy.
Oh my God,
Holy
we're doing that Gacy doc on Peacock. I knew nothing about this guy.
I only knew what I knew.
Yeah.
And let me tell you. Oof, Maron. Oh my God.
Also, you guys, join us on Instagram, True Crime Obsessed Podcast. Every Tuesday at noon, we go live for our live hang with you guys. It's called Ladies Who Lunch. I forget about it until the 10-minute reminder I get on my phone every week. Yeah. And then it's like the funnest 30 minutes of my Tuesday.
We talk about the episodes. Yeah. We answer your questions. If you are mad at us about something, we talk about it there. It's like true. A nice little therapy sesh for all of us. We just hang out.
Tell me one fun thing that happened to you this week.
Oh, God. I had a really great therapy session. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's so great.
It was one of those ones where it was like, I'm tired, but I feel great. Totally. Sometimes you just feel tired. Yes. Sometimes you feel okay. It was one of those, like, I nailed it in therapy this week. I feel awesome.
All right, girl, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about when Phillip met Missy.
It's really, you guys, it's bananas.
Basically, the entire thing is told through surveillance footage from a McDonald's or whatever.
Or a Burger King or a Wendy's. You never really know.
Yes, it really depends. And, we get this crazy coming up on, and one of the lines that really jumped out at me was,
none of us saw that coming. All the guys in the restaurant, there's 3 or 4 others I thought would have killed their wives before Phil did.
None of us saw that coming. I guess 4 guys who'd kill their wives before I guessed Phil. And I was like, who is this Phil character? I already don't like him. Missy, I don't know about yet. Phil. And who are these other 4 guys who would guess before Phil?
Y'all need new friends, all right?
New friends.
My mother's missing. She's gone. My father's the prime suspect.
She could have been dead in Cincinnati.
So she passed away in your car?
Yeah.
Where'd they transport her to?
I'm not sure where.
You don't know?
It was the story that Phil Snyder started to tell that made you think that it wasn't natural causes. That led to the police to putting Phil under surveillance. Some townsfolk go and have coffee at local fast food restaurants just about every morning.
Phil told them they stopped at a Ramada Inn. We obtained video from the Ramada Inn that showed Phil walking into his hotel room, but no Roberta.
That's when Missy entered the equation.
Morning. I heard a rumor this is the best coffee in town. I'm Missy. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm staying with my mom in Atwater.
The people in town were saying, oh, you want to be careful. That's the guy who killed his wife.
Missy just kind of blew it off.
When my mom goes, we're going to get tons of. I told you what a she is. I get fed up.
Say you do choose to do something.
Then you'll help me?
Was it possible that Missy had seen Phil on TV and then sought him out to kill her mother too? Missy was up to no good, and she and Phil seemed made for each other. Could they both end up going down for murder?
All right, so we open in a place called Hartville, Ohio.
Yeah, and we hear a lot about Hartville, Ohio. Farm country, small village with a big heart. And this guy, Dennis, who's a prosecutor, is like...
I don't want to offend any people in Hartville, but Hartville is kind of like the Mayberry of Stark County.
He even continues. He's like, it's small population, but nice, friendly people. I'm like, how is this insulting? It's a lovely town.
You guys, I'm so sorry to say it out loud, but nobody here is an asshole.
Right.
Although we find out everyone there is an asshole. But the other thing, I was like, this seems like the kind of town where you get an Airbnb for a cozy hometown Christmas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The kind of town where, I don't know, they didn't have a McDonald's until 1982, and then when they got it, it was the biggest thing ever.
I remember when I first moved to Hartville in 1980, there was no McDonald's, and everybody would laugh like, what do you mean, no McDonald's? But you have to remember, it was a horse and buggy type town. And our McDonald's was built here in 1982, and that was a big thing.
I was like, that is the weirdest fact until I realized this entire thing takes place in a McDonald's.
Right, because then, they say, like, one of those towns where everything knows everybody about everyone. But it's true here.
I gotta tell you, like, I was like, I could never live in a place like this. And then they're like, but everyone in this town gossips. And I was like, oh, suddenly her ears perked up a little
And they
bit.
don't just gossip when you see each other online at the store or picking up the laundry.
No, they've got like gossip appointments every morning.
It's a group of like older men.
It's right, and it's the men.
All men. It's
Yeah.
like 10 to 15 men, and all they do is go to the McDonald's, the Burger King, the Wendy's. They sit and they drink coffee all day long and just gossip.
But I gotta tell you too, there's like a hierarchy. We meet all these like locals who
They
are
all
like,
have
well,
the same seats?
Everyone and like you don't take somebody's seat. I worked at a restaurant like this once. If you've ever worked at a restaurant, like most of them will do like a family meal before the shift starts or like a pre-shift meeting. I worked at this restaurant once, and actually the person I'm thinking of is famous now. She was a waitress. She opened and closed this place. She got famous in her 40s. No, she's awesome. But she had her spot that she sat at every meeting. And if you took her seat, I took her seat on my first day. She never, to this day, we're still friends. She never lets me forget it.
Who is it?
Bridget Everett. Her name is Bridget Everett.
God.
Look her up. She's really famous now. She's got a show about her life coming out on HBO. It's bananas.
Oh my God.
But she was a waitress at a place called Ruby Foods on the Upper West Side for like 7 straight years. She opened and closed the joint, you guys. And don't fucking get in her seat at pre-shift.
Don't. And this guy, Tom Ford, he's a resident and gossip participant.
And like not that Tom Ford.
No, not that Tom Ford, this guy. And he's like,
The same people had the same seats. Phil was the guy that would come in and sit down. I was at the same table with him for about 10, 12 years at least.
10, 12 years in the same seat, the same McDonald's. Also,
those seats are plastic. How do you sit in that for 12 hours?
All day.
I know.
Drinking coffee and talking.
Remember the Mommy Dead and Deers episode where that kid was masturbating in a McDonald's for 9 hours?
For 9 hours, and then we
went
had an
right
ad
into
for
the handy ad.
I do remember that. But everyone in this town, like everyone has known this Phil guy for years.
Yeah.
Some of them decades, 25 years, right?
Totally.
And we meet Dawn. She's a reporter, Dawn
Listen,
Kendrick.
tell me that she's not the Nancy Grace of this town.
She's a little bit the Nancy Grace.
She's so the Nancy Grace that Dawn loves this story. She loves her ability to report on this story.
Yeah, and she wants us to know, like...
That is very typical in a small town like Hartville. You're hanging out, same people, same coffee, different day, more gossip.
And they're all like retirees. Like they're getting out. Good for them.
Totally.
They're engaging. It's like doing a crossword puzzle.
Totally. I was thinking like if I was running for president, those are the places I'd hit on my world tour. You know what I mean?
Do I have to like hold babies though? I don't want to.
You and I both never actually need to run for president.
Oh, good.
I don't think either one of us would be great at that job.
I think I'd be terrible
Although apparently
at it.
anybody can do that job.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be better than at least one person I know of.
Eisenhower?
Garfield. I'd be better than Jefferson, I think.
Yeah.
I'm
for
real
sure.
anti-slavery.
Yeah.
And I'm on the record about that.
Totally.
That's more than he can say. So, founder of our country.
Oh my God. So reporter Dawn, the Nancy Grace of this town, is like, it's the same people, the same coffee, the same gossip every day. Then in comes Missy.
In she walks. And Missy, she was about 20 years younger than Phil.
Yep.
We immediately hear her voice. Again, all of this is either like body cams or surveillance footage from a McDonald's or a Wendy's or a Burger King.
Totally.
And, it's like Missy walked in and everyone was like, boom, like all eyes, because she's like young and pretty and new. And it's like, Missy, these are like all the old men who just want to talk about like fishing and like gossip. I don't even know what kind of gossip is in that small town.
I know.
Because all anyone does is sit and talk about things at the McDonald's. Like, what kind of scandal is happening?
Well, we also, one of our talking heads is a woman named Chrissy. She's the assistant manager of the Burger King.
Her.
So she's got blue hair, and I went to write, oh my God, and I accidentally wrote, oh my gold. And then I went, but also, oh my gold.
Also, oh my gold.
Chrissy is gold this entire time.
Yeah, a lot of the townspeople are gold too.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
But Missy's super bubbly, really engaging Phil. And before you know it, Missy has her own like assigned seat right next to Phil. They're meeting up every day. And now that is the talk of the town.
Right.
Who's Missy?
Right.
Missy and Phil.
People were talking and they thought it was a little, strange.
When Missy started to be seen with Phil, there had to be a lot of gossip.
I don't think there was a day went by it didn't come up in conversation one way or another. We never really had anything quite like this happen before and didn't know what to think.
We haven't had anything like this happen before. Nobody knew what to think. And it's like a new person moved into town.
Right.
Shocking. Riveting.
Not since the McDonald's in 82 has there been a scandal.
I mean, ticker tape parade. They'd sit and read the paper. They'd buy each other food and coffee. If one of them came early, they'd get their orders and wait. I mean, they were really close, really fast.
Missy and Phil. Now,
Yes.
here's something you guys have to know. Like, these establishments are all under surveillance because of Phil, and we'll get to why later. But you're going to hear Missy and Phil talking because the fucking place is bugged.
Right.
So you're
right.
going to hear them talking like on, it sounds like FBI tapes of the mafia. And that's because so when it sounds like that, that's why.
Yes, exactly.
So we learned about Missy.
No, I'm staying with my mom in Atwater. Okay. I take care of her in the afternoon, then all night, and she needs a break from me. So it's sort of been refreshing coming up here and just chilling a little bit. Yeah, I just got divorced in Cincinnati. I got 2 grown kids.
She's taking care of her mother, but there's a lot of drama because Missy hates the in-home care nurse who's taking care of her mother.
My God, have you guys ever met a fucking home health aide? These people are doing God's work.
They should be paid at least
$1 million
$2 billion.
an hour. Yeah.
$2 billion.
Oh my God.
At least.
Sometimes I think about the home health aide who's going to have to take care of me when I'm old.
God help them.
I love that it's a male nurse. I always imagine.
I said them, but whatever you want to.
I thought you said God help. Can
no,
you imagine?
you're not going to get some like young hot nurse. No, you're going to.
I don't want that. No. I want like a lady.
You're going to get a tough broad who's going to not take any ounce and 1 iota of your shit. I'm going to hire her.
Can that woman start working with me today?
Your lips to God's
Jen,
ears.
I need a bath.
Your lips to Goddess's ears. My God.
Jen.
Oh my God.
The coffee's cold.
It's starting. So Steve does this every day?
Yeah.
Like deals with you? That's
I know. I'd love to be like, yeah, but you know what? I'm great in the sack. I don't know why he stays with me.
Oh, I would think that you're probably a little selfish though, right? It's just us, right?
Anyway, moving on.
So basically, like Missy's mom is dying, and instead of taking care of her because Missy is like probably not that great of a person, and she also hates the in-home care nurse. She spends all day, every day, like her 9 to 5 is hanging out with Phil in McDonald's drinking coffee,
which is like, and it's all anyone can talk about. At one point, we hear him call her little girl. Hey, little girl. It's
disgusting.
So fucking gross. Don't do that, Phil.
And Missy's,
God damn it.
And they're like,
I get you because I think we think a lot alike, which is weird, but I'm weird. So.
And I kind of am as well.
So we're weird together. But.
A couple weirdos.
Exactly.
Phil's super into Missy. He's starting to dress up more. Missy's really into Phil. Everyone in town is like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, and like Missy's not great, all right?
No.
And one of the things about her on April 2nd, 2018, she's talking with her fucking mouth full.
Oh.
And she doesn't know she's being recorded, so it's not her fault. But she's talking with her fucking mouth, and we have to listen to it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with you and I meeting.
Right.
So Chrissy, who we love?
Yeah.
Because she's like, everyone in town hates this Missy Phil thing. And I'm like, why do you care so much? Like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
And Chrissy is like, no, girl, listen. Because I love Chrissy.
Right, me too.
And she's like, girl, come here, listen.
It was all over town, and I think people were shocked.
Made our stomachs turn for sure. I mean, because we all know his wife is now missing.
Because everyone knew Phil's wife was missing. And I'm like, well,
And
pull over.
not just missing. Everyone's like, his wife is missing and he probably killed her.
Right. Because then someone else is like, he is running around with this Missy person knowing, and we all know that he killed his wife. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah. And this is one of the first times where Dawn says it was the talk of the town. She says that about everything.
The talk of the town.
The McDonald's.
Sure. The case of the century, Dawn, wasn't it? Because now people are like worried for Missy.
Right.
Because Phil's a murderer.
And eventually we hear people warning Missy. Missy doesn't care. She's not bothered by this at all.
Yeah, there's someone, because we hear, again, because of the surveillance and the FBI has it bugged, we're like 99% sure Phil killed his wife.
Yeah.
What are you doing with him?
And not to like foreshadow too much, but Missy hates her mom, so just put that, let that sink in.
It would be real. She doesn't really want to say it, but it's going to be a relief when you know what happens. She'd have her life back, you know?
It's bananas. And so Phil's wife is named Roberta, and we sort of get like the Phil and Roberta backstory a little bit. Phil and Roberta met at the Hartville schools. They grew up like down the street from each other. Roberta did crafts.
She sounds awesome.
She does.
She loved scrapbooking. She had a whole room devoted to it. If anything happened to you, Roberta would present you with a scrapbook about it. It is the most wholesome, purest thing.
It's the kind of thing that, like, girl, I really wish I cared about scrapbooking. Like, I feel like I would be so bad at it, but it's the kind of thing I wish I wanted to do.
Because because when you see one, I'm knocked out by it. I think it's the coolest, sweetest thing, but it makes me anxious because I feel like I would do it wrong. And I know you scrapbookers are saying I can't do it wrong because it's just about me and my creativity, but I would start one and say, I ruined it. I have to start from scratch, and then start another one, and I would just never... It would never be right.
An entire room. We learned that Phil and Roberta had kids. I wonder if, like, when the 17-year-old turned 18, she started counting the minutes until she could turn his room into the scrapbooking room.
Oh, my God, totally.
You know what I mean?
And the thing is, speaking of their kids, Roberta got pregnant at 16.
Yeah.
So their son Kenny is here, like, throughout. And Kenny
goes through it in this.
I love
Holy
Kenny.
shit, me too.
And I love his wife. Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah.
But Kenny says...
She got pregnant at the age of 16. Didn't really get a chance to experience her teenage years a lot and the things that a teenager would do. She was, raising a child.
She was a young mother. She did the best she could. She stayed at home raising 2 young boys as a teenager. I mean, I love her.
We do see her at like some wedding in 1993 doing the electric slide. She got
Good
to have
for her.
some fun.
How do you put music in a scrapbook? That's what she's thinking. She's like, and you open the scrapbook page and you're like, oh my God, I can hear it in my head. That's how good she is. And I mean that sincerely. I really wish I was good at this.
I don't mean to derail this conversation, but why is the song The Electric Slide so magical?
You mean you don't want to talk about scrapbooking anymore?
I just want to say, I actually would listen to The Electric Slide like in my AirPods.
You would?
I love that song.
Because it tells you
can see it. It's electric. Boogie, boogie, boogie. Like, come on, that song's great.
Yeah. Well, now we got to play it at the next party we have. If I don't hear The Electric Slide at the next Patrick and Steve party, I'm walking. I'm leaving.
Like you and Maggie doing The Electric Slide together.
A dream. If Maggie would sink to my level and dance with me, that would be really great.
Totally.
She's too cool for me, though. I described Maggie as a smoke show the other day. And I meant
Maggie
it.
is a smoke show.
And I meant
you guys have not seen her secret Instagram. It is hot.
She is a smoke show.
She has Maggie has her like check mark, Maggie Freeling. Like, what do you call that? Verified
yeah.
Instagram. Then she has her like secret Instagram that none of you know about.
That's called redacted.
Totally. It's soft core Maggie pictures, and they are so amazing.
Smoke show. I'm saying it.
Smoke show.
Unbelievable.
We learn that Roberta's health declines in the early 90s, and she becomes depressed, and she has other issues.
Yeah, and Kenny the son says, look.
Every married couple has time when it's not always a smooth road. They did have difficulty. He drank.
My dad, Phil, was a dick. He drank a lot. And
Totally.
Roberta just she's really going through it.
Smash cut to January 9th, 2018, you guys. This is fucking crazy. So Roberta is Phil's wife, and Roberta's brother comes to the local police with a fucking story.
What an interesting tale this is.
Totally.
To say the least.
So he says he got a call from Phil. He and Roberta had gone to Memphis, and she fucking died on the trip. Remember, she's missing, you guys.
Right.
This is the story that the police were told.
He said she died on Friday. He wouldn't let him do an autopsy. He had her cremated.
He said Phil told him that he gave her body to the EMS, who took it from there, and he never saw anything other than them taking the body.
We have no details what happened to my sister.
Phil tells the brother there was no autopsy. He had her cremated. He gave her body to EMS and never saw the body again.
I mean...
I know.
Thankfully, I was like, this is such a mess. Brother Brian is super concerned, right?
Yeah.
He is,
Yeah.
thankfully,
Yeah.
because I don't know where this is going to go.
Totally.
You never know. He might have been like, well, I'm on my way.
Right.
But just can we slow down on that for a second?
But I mean, please, do we have to talk about anything else?
She died on Friday.
Yeah.
Phil, the husband, refused to let anyone do an autopsy.
Right.
And I don't know who he's talking about.
Right.
Then he had her cremated, but then he also gave her body to the EMS. Again, nothing is making sense. And then he just left and
then,
never saw her
drove
again.
home.
No
Didn't call the
memorial.
kids. Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No, it's just like, oh, well, she's in good hands now. Bye. Like,
Right.
what are you talking about?
And we see the brother talking to the cop on the cop's body cam. That's the other thing about this.
When I was screaming about this to
Yeah.
Mike today, because I was like, this is what we get to talk about today. I was like, documentaries are changed forever because
Right.
now we're starting to get the docs that are made with all of these body
It
cams.
started with
and
the
all
Chris
of this.
Watts documentaries, you guys.
Yeah.
So we see, all of this is on body cam. And, so we're seeing the actual interview with the brother. And the cop goes,
I'm perplexed by this. This is very weird to me.
I am too. The whole thing seemed weird, but I don't want to accuse him, and I'm not. But he's got to tell us something.
Yeah, and I agree.
And the story's got to start to make sense at some point.
Yeah, something's not adding up, and it's weird.
something's not adding up here. This is weird.
And I just have in my notes, I'll say.
Yeah.
Why is it? And the cops are way too calm and way too nice to Phil about
brother,
this.
You're not going to flip a single table?
Because no one wants to believe he didn't kill my sister, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you just have to say like he's a weird guy.
Right.
Something's weird because you never want to go to. I mean, you would go there, but I would probably be like, he fucking killed her.
Right, yeah.
So the cops go to check on Phil, and they're like, hey, Phil.
Again, body cam, we see the whole thing.
We had some calls from family members, and they just wanted us to come out and check and make sure you're okay on you and your wife. You guys okay?
I'm okay, yes.
Okay.
My wife passed away.
I'm okay. My wife passed away, though. Huh?
She passed away. Phil tells this insane story. Now, when we tell these stories, it's going to sound like they're all out of context and they don't make any sense.
I know.
We're just quoting Phil.
Yeah,
the stories don't make any sense. And he's like, well...
We went down to Memphis to see Elvis. Got down there the 6th, and she choked on her phlegm. She'd been choking for about a year.
Where were you at?
Days in, I think it is.
Days in.
In the middle of this, you hear... because he's trying to kill a fly or a mosquito as he's talking about his dead wife. And he's also like, well, she's been choking for a year. He's trying to say that she had this sort of phlegmy, choking, coughing thing that she was dealing with. And it finally caught up to her. And
she died of like whooping cough.
Right. Dysentery. Or either in the Days Inn or the car.
Also, like, what must the Days Inn at Graceland be like?
Not great. Or great. I don't know.
Free breakfast, I bet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but probably only till like 9.
So, right. Oh, well, I mean, that's
I know you're up at 4 a.m.
Plenty of time for me, girl. So the officer's like, so, girl, she died in your car? And Phil's like, yep. The cops ask him a lot of leading questions. Like, they never like, where did she die? They always give him the answer.
So Phil goes, yeah, no, I didn't speak with anyone. I just left town. And the cops are like, okay.
And then also didn't tell anyone when you got your son doesn't know that his mother is dead?
Right. Or you don't want to have any kind of memorial or just be like a decent person. So the cops start looking into this.
Rob got busy and started calling medical examiners, body transport people, hospitals, fire departments, ambulance services, everybody that would be in the Memphis area to try to determine who moved the body. And of course, we came up empty.
And they go, well, of course we came up empty. Right. And I'm like, I could have told you that.
So they go back to Phil's house again on January 10th, 2018. We see the video again. We're at Phil's table. And like, finally the cop was like, Phil, girl, your story isn't adding up. He's like, I think you know more than you're telling us. Now, this is where, and I gotta tell you, because we see all of this on the body cam, Phil is saying, look.
I had 2 aneurysm operations. Okay. Sometimes I have problems remembering. Okay. If I didn't remember something, I'm very sorry.
He really is acting like a man with memory problems. And for a minute, I was like kind of falling for it.
Oh.
Because he's really old. He's like in his 70s. He looks kind of feeble. And it's sort of like, girl, did your wife actually die and you just forgot?
But then he changes course because he's like, oh, I had her cremated.
Right.
And okay, no memorial service.
Uh-huh.
And then it just cuts to the police chief on the 6 o'clock news, basically.
I'm waiting patiently until Phil's ready to tell me the truth. And when that happens, then we'll see where the chips fall.
The police chief goes on the news and he's like, well, we're just waiting for Phil to tell the truth. Right. Now it's the talk of the town. Fuck the McDonald's. No one cares. Remember in 1982, the McDonald's? No. Now everyone's talking about how Phil killed poor Roberta, including Phil and Roberta's son, Kenny.
Right.
And Roberta's siblings, her whole family.
Right. So one of the tent poles of the story that Phil has told the cops is that he and Roberta stopped at the Ramada Inn in Sparta, Kentucky on the way to Graceland. And the cops are like, well, let's verify that story. So they go to the Ramada Inn, they get the video, and they pull it up. They see Phil, they see no Roberta. Phil is the only person to check in. He's the only person to check out. So Roberta is not with him.
Right. And so they call Phil on this.
Right.
Again, we see all the footage.
They go back to his house. We get all the footage.
So Phil maintains.
She was there. That's a still picture taken from a video. She was never on the video. She was there. How did his video be there? I don't know.
She was absolutely there. I don't care what the paperwork says, what your footage says, and then he just leaves the room. He's like, I don't know, I don't remember. And he just leaves.
And we watch it happen, and we're like, girl, where are going?
And the cops are just like, Phil, come back. And then, knock, 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 the son, Kenny, shows up.
And it's literally chaos down here, Tom, because they are literally there to confront him about, like, maybe murdering his wife. In the middle of this confrontation, the son shows up, sits next to his dad while the cop is trying to get Phil to admit to the murder of his wife / this guy's mom.
And now Phil just starts saying things. None of it makes any sense. He's like, well, actually, Kenny, now that you're here, son.
Right.
She wanted to be there one more time before she died. She died, I took her there anyway, because she wanted to be there.
Roberta died before we got to Graceland, but I took her there anyway?
I know!
Oh.
And he's trying, that's his explanation for why you didn't see her on the video at the Ramada. He had the body in the trunk. The body in the trunk, you guys. Oh my God. I mean, thank God none of this fucking happened.
Right. And then he's going on and on. Now he's crying the fucking crocodile tears with this guy. I can't.
Well, because he's saying, I'm sorry. And now the police chief is like thinking that he's about to like admit to the murder.
Right. And he's like, I put up a lot of stuff because of how much I loved your mother. And if I didn't love her, we would have been divorced 20 years ago. I'm so sorry. I feel so bad. And Kenny's like, okay, fine, but where is she?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
I don't cry all you want, but where is my mother?
Right. And so he says, okay, that story I told you about cremating her, not actually true.
She could have been dead in Cincinnati.
God. What happened?
Put her in the river.
And you're not sure what river?
It was either Kentucky River or the Tennessee River. It was on the way home. When I left that hotel down there, she was still with me.
He is telling the story that she chokes and dies. He pulls over on the side of a fucking bridge.
Could be anywhere.
And like literally dumps her body over the bridge into the river because he wants her to be with nature.
And then he's like, because no one would find her body that way. Right. He literally said that. Right. And the cops are like, Phil, what river, Phil? And he's like, I don't know. Either Kentucky or Tennessee. I cannot handle this. I don't know. It could have been Cincinnati. It could have been Kentucky. It could have been Tennessee.
You guys.
Phillip.
So the cops, they decide they're going to get DNA from Roberta's son, Roberta and Phil's son, Kenny, who we've met. And they also get DNA from Roberta's sister. So if they are able to find any like DNA of Roberta anywhere that could be connected to a crime scene, they will be able to use this DNA to connect it.
Yeah, they can't use Roberta's because they don't know where her body is.
Exactly.
So just like another jump cut, as you say, smash cut. Suddenly Phil has been discovered in his home. He passed out. He took a bunch of pills. He tried to kill himself.
So Phil overdoses. And like the son had come over because the dad hadn't been answering the phone. And they find him down in the basement. There's a suicide note that says, Dear Kenny, I did not harm your mom. Signed, your dad.
It doesn't say the word signed.
Right.
Which is very important. There's no other way to articulate that verbally because it just sounds like I did not harm your mom, your dad.
If this was a live show, I would have done the dash with my fingers.
I did not harm your mom. Pause. Your dad. And unbelievable.
Of course, this, like, to the town.
When we had heard that he had tried to kill himself, ironically, a lot of people thought that was the dead giveaway that he was guilty and was trying to get out of it like that.
I'm sure he wants it to look like he's so distraught about his wife that he just couldn't take it anymore, but it totally backfired. Yeah. Because Phil is in the hospital, which means a member of the family has to be power of attorney. The cops go to that person, bada bing, bada boom. Yep. They get permission to search the house.
So you guys, they bring a cadaver dog to the house.
His name is Jed. He gets his own lower third. Super cute. Just saying.
You know how like sometimes the cadaver dogs in these episodes, so it's kind of like a whole lot of nothing?
Yeah.
Jed, the cadaver dog, brings us right to like a murder barrel.
Drags one of the cops down the stairs to the basement.
Even the cop can't believe it. The cop was like...
He wants something in there.
It's crazy that he can smell that all the way from upstairs.
All right, come on, square.
I can't believe he can smell it from
They're
up there.
laughing. They're like, what is he? He's really smelling something. He's whimpering. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, girl, look.
Yeah, and it's like this red Rubbermaid, like storage bin.
Like plastic, container. And they open it, and one of the cops is like, ooh, yeah, that's an odor. Oh, yeah. That's an odor.
And it's like filled with like Christmas presents and stuff. Like it looks normal, but they also find a sweatshirt with blood on it, and there's blood inside the tub.
Right.
Oh my God.
And guess what? Because at the same time, they've been testing the DNA from the family. The lawyer's like...
When we got the results of that mitochondrial DNA, it was 99.999% probability that it was from Kenny's mother, Roberta.
Yeah, maybe he didn't put her body in a fucking river. Like, why is there Roberta's blood on a ripped sweatshirt with the Christmas decorations?
So they bring Kenny the son in again, this poor fucking kid.
Guy, I'm
This poor
honestly
man.
like...
They keep saying to him, like, one of these times that we have to re-traumatize you by listening to your dad talk about your mom dying.
And you haven't been able to properly grieve because we don't know where she is. Can you do that again?
Yeah, they're like, one of these times it's going to work, I promise.
And don't worry, we're just going to let him talk and lie and totally open that wound and really traumatize you even more. Good, great. 9 o'clock, Kenny.
Kenny just goes, Dad.
I know. And it's like if you see him and you're just like, you just want to reach out and hug him. And there's a point, I'm just going to say it now. His wife is sitting next to him when he's doing the interview for this.
Yeah.
She is listening. She's so kind. She has her hand. She's holding his hand and she's really like just letting him express this.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was just like, that's a partner. That's someone like she is so with him.
Totally.
And he needs that so badly. And it was really it was nice to see because every other piece of footage with Kenny is fucking terrible.
Totally.
So it was really nice to see him have someone.
So now that the cops have backed him into a corner again about like the shirt and the fact that she's not in the river, he changes the story again.
He just keeps you can hear him making it up as he goes along.
Yeah.
And so the cops literally ask him, can you keep your story straight this time? We're going to ask you one more time.
Because this is the point where he's like, well, no. So here's what happened. She coughed up the phlegm and she died at home. And you see Kenny roll his eyes and go, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Kenny's now getting like the fourth story about how his mother died.
Right. So not in the car, not in the hotel. Now she died at home.
Right.
Okay.
Died at home. He carried her out of the house over his shoulder. And then the cops are like, so, but where in the house did she die?
Where in the house did she die?
She died in the living room.
Where at the living room?
Right. Well, she collapsed right there at the end, at the edge of the coffee table.
She died in the
Where do you think
room?
she died? Right. You tell me. You tell me what you think happened to her, and then we'll see.
They basically do. He's like at the edge of the coffee table.
Dennis, the lawyer, is all of us because we're just like, shut up. So
I know.
Dennis, in my mind, just like throws the door open. And he's like, that's it.
Yeah.
So he says to us, we need a confession. That's because this guy is not telling us anything. Like we really need him to come clean.
Yeah.
Because we need him to say it because he's going to try to bullshit the cops and he's bad at it, but like we need more.
Now they're like, we got to get information. We got to put him under surveillance. They're like, we want to see, was he grieving? Was he sad? And then this happens to be when Missy enters the picture.
Right.
They decide to put all these places where he's hanging out like under surveillance with the recordings and whatever. So like this is how we get all the tape that we have.
Right. And this is where we hear, Chrissy, the Burger King manager, she's like, yeah, Phil starts getting really dressed up. And this is where we hear people warning Missy. And the thing is,
you literally see an old lady being like,
don't get friendly with him.
Oh, really? With that guy there?
He's the one his wife's missing.
Somebody was telling me about that.
They can't find the body, so they can't charge him.
Wow.
But they will kill him. Oh, no. Like them guys said, he's outsmarted the FBI.
Yeah, he sure has, hasn't he?
So far.
that guy that you're talking to, that his wife is missing. We think that he outsmarted the FBI. Missy doesn't give a fuck.
No.
Remember, she's got a mother to kill.
Yeah, totally. Oh, she just wants her life back.
I know.
Such a pain. So Phil and Missy get real close real quick.
Yeah.
So Phil starts kind of spilling the tea to Missy. Like day by day, he's giving her a little more information about what happened. Because remember, she's like, she hears that and she's like, oh, like you said, I have a mother to kill.
Right.
So she's really engaging him and asking questions. And he has an audience and, you know, people like to talk. And he starts telling her more and more.
Yeah, and Missy, like, she's kind of like goading him. Like, she says things to him like...
So you put her in the Kentucky River, but you told him Tennessee.
It was a Tennessee River.
Oh.
It is a Tennessee River.
Oh, but they're searching the wrong spot. I would tell them the wrong spot. Send them on some wild goose chase. Because, like you said, as long as they don't have the body, they can't tell what she died from.
You know they can't get you if they don't have a body. Like, her tone of voice sucks.
Yeah. So now Missy is like, well, you killed your wife probably.
Yeah.
I have a mother to kill.
And this is where we learned that when she kind of says this off the cuff, but I can tell she's like testing it out with him.
Yeah.
She's like,
When my mom goes, we're going to get tons of money.
When my mom dies, by the way, we're going to get tons of money.
Right. So Phil tells her, you know what you could do?
Yeah.
You can suffocate your mother.
Oh my.
That's a good
Listening
idea.
to this conversation is curls your hair.
Yeah. And Missy's like, really? Would you help me? Like,
And
what do you think?
Missy's like, would she be fighting?
And he's like, well, maybe. You never know. And he's giving her, he's like, roll her over. This
Oh
is
my
so
God.
horrible.
It's so fucking
Push
gross,
her head down and, she dies. And he's like, yeah, I will absolutely help you. I'll get a truck and a dolly. Come pick me up. We'll kill your mother and get all the money.
Yeah.
And you can have your life back.
So now we're back to the cops trying to get evidence on Phil. Because remember, Phil is still saying that he still dumped the body in the river, right? And so they get his credit card records and they say his first stop on their way to Memphis was at a gas station in Worcester, Ohio, which is like just outside of where they live.
It says 40 minutes away from where they are.
And I was like, gas stations will save us all. I do enough of these podcasts to know gas stations always have the best surveillance video.
Right, but like, have they erased it?
Right.
Guess what?
No.
Shockingly, they have not.
Give a fucking Pulitzer Prize. I was saying there should be like a $50 million prize when the police go to a place with surveillance video that they need, and that place has it, they get $50 million.
And they actually have it.
Totally.
I mean, it was like I won the lottery.
I know,
truly.
totally. And we see an image of Phil in his truck, supposedly on this trip with his wife or with his wife's body. She's not in the car. It's just Phil.
He's so clearly alone in this car, right? So the cops are saying, well, that means that she died at home, which is one right thing that Phil said.
And it's actually really good news because we can at least say we don't have to fucking search the rivers anymore.
Yeah, and I'm
we
like,
don't have to go to Graceland.
And I'm like, well, Jet the dog told us with the red bin. So yeah, it was at home.
We could continue to let Elvis rest in peace if he were actually dead.
Oh, hello. And so now back to Phil and Missy talking about committing murder, basically. Yeah. And Phil's talking about, okay, here's the plan. And Missy's like, oh, she's such a bitch. And Phil starts doing this thing that makes my skin crawl.
Uh-huh.
When he's talking in hypotheticals, he keeps saying the phrase, now this is just a scenario.
I could give you a scenario.
Yes, give me a scenario.
I ask a guy that picks up dumpsters like Wendy's. I said, what do you do with that trash? Yeah. He said, take it to the dump.
It's very OJ if I did it.
And by the time this ends, if I hear that phrase one more fucking time, because he says it in this very like, well, this is just a scenario,
right.
But what you could do, and there's something about, it's a me thing, there's something about the way he says it and that he says it so many times, it is under my skin.
No, I think that like when we're listening to somebody describing the way he killed his wife and we know he did it, and he's like, this is just a hypothetical, like it's like fucking OJ.
Because he's also like trying to flirt with her while he's doing it.
And he's not wearing his wedding ring anymore.
Right, and he's getting more and more dressed up.
Yeah. Dressed up for his coffee dates at the Burger King, you guys, please.
At the Burger King.
Now, you get dressed up if you're going to see Chrissy, the assistant manager at the Burger King. She's the lady you dress up for.
And show her some respect. We'll get to that in a moment.
Oh my God, yes.
And so, like, Missy is really starting to lay it on thick. And the cops are like, I kind of can't believe we have all this footage. Because she's like,
I was at my mom's. I told you what a bitch she is. I get fed up.
Say you do choose to do something.
And you'll help me?
She really wants to plan it. Now the idea's in her head. She wants her life back. She hates the in-home care nurse. It's like enough already.
The in-home care nurse, again, makes $8 an hour doing God's work.
And
Jan,
if
my bath is too cold.
And if Missy's mom is as horrible as Missy says, give Jan a raise.
Totally.
She should get a raise if Missy's mom is the nicest person on earth. But if Missy's to be believed, Jan, hero.
Jan, my feet need to be rubbed.
Oh, my God. I can't. Steve, I don't know. Speaking of a race.
Steve
Tipton. Oh, so then we hear from Chrissy, the manager.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Phil was creepy from the beginning. He just gave you weird looks, made rude comments. If he came up for his refill, he would whistle, tap his cup on the counter, like very demanding.
He would bang on the counter to get her attention. He would whistle at her.
Oh my God.
And remember, all day long. Because all they would do is sit here from 9 to 5 or whatever. All day just having Phil be a dick to you.
And the other thing too is that like, I feel like there's a moment where you kind of feel like Phil hangs out with the cool kids of like the coffee club. Phil is actually kind of the town creep.
Yes.
Everyone know and
that was before they thought he killed his wife.
Totally. They say that like he never tells personal stories. 90% of people in town think he killed his wife. You guys know it's okay to not hang out with the guy that you think killed his wife.
Well, Anna, by the way, one of our townspeople who I love, she's on your side, our side, because she's been with us the whole time, and she tells us this story where she's like,
Phil, he had his estate sale, and he sold everything in the house he could get.
When we saw him over at Wendy's, we knew, well, something's up.
So I asked him, I said, hey, I went to your estate sale. And he said, oh, well, what were you looking for? And I said, I was looking for clues, Phil. I was looking for clues. And he shut up and wouldn't talk to me anymore.
Clues, Phil. I was looking for clues. And I'm like, that's a good zinger, Anna. So Anna's with us.
Yeah. We keep getting more between Phil and Missy. And like, Missy's pushing him and Phil's like, you think I whacked her, huh?
So you think I whacked her?
No, but at the same time, I don't care. Other than I am intrigued.
No, but I also don't care. Missy.
I know.
Like, the audacity.
And she's also like, you totally outsmarted the cops. You're so smart. That's why they can't get you. And that's why I want your help with my situation.
I'm like, Missy, like, this is taking too long. Find somebody else to kill your mother. I've had it.
I know. And the whole, like, how she can put up with the just a scenario shit all this time, it makes me crazy.
Patrick, I said, advocate you finding anybody to kill your mother.
So Phil is like, just between us.
Yeah.
And again, just a scenario. I'm going to tell you what happened to my wife. Like, we get bits and pieces of the story here and there. So this is a little disjointed.
Yeah.
But he's like, I took a cotton cloth, and I put it against her head.
Yeah.
And then just at one point, Missy says, because I guess Phil had told her about that red Rubbermaid container.
Yeah, the one that the dog found. Jet the pup.
Jet, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for respecting the lower third. Jet with 2 T's. Loving you. And so at one point, Missy's like,
So, but you put her in a Rubbermaid container too, or you didn't?
Yeah.
oh, so you put her body in the red container?
Yeah.
And Phil says, yes.
I know. And so now they take a pause from talking about the wife, and now they're talking about her mom. And this is where the idea of marriage is floated.
Right.
Like, Phil's obviously in love with this, like, young, hot woman, right?
Who's just telling him how great and smart he is and how cool it is that he killed his wife.
Yeah, so he says, so say your mom passes away and I move to Cincinnati with you. She's like, tell me more.
They're playing card games at Wendy's. They're playing cards.
I know. He's like, you said I could stay with you, right?
Say your mom passes away and I moved to Cincinnati. You said I could stay with you.
Yes.
I put my wife on as my beneficiary for half of my pension. Would be close to $900 a month.
So he's just explaining that if he gets married, his wife would get $900 a month as part of his pension. So then he goes, say there's a marriage. Phil!
Over card games at Wendy's. I
Yeah.
have to reiterate it.
And he's like, he's trying to say, like, I want you to marry me. He's pretending it's for the money, but he really loves her. He goes,
You don't even need to get frisky with me.
Good, because I'm not frisky kind of person.
And then we meet our townspeople again, and they're like, oh, please. Of course he wanted to get frisky. You never say it. People say they don't want to get frisky. They totally want to get frisky. Give me a break. And so Missy says, she's like really entertaining this marriage idea, the $900 a month.
gotta get rid of her mother, please.
And that too. So then Missy says, Phil, look, if you want to get married, I really believe in honesty. We have to start off on the right foot. You have to tell me how you killed your wife. Because don't forget about spousal privilege. I can't testify against you for married. Don't worry. It's safe.
And she has really wanted to know this the whole time. She's kind of like fixated. And, yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think that she realizes now she's got the leverage to actually get the story.
Right. Like if you want to marry me, again, not getting frisky, but you also have to tell me what happened. Enough of this just a scenario bullshit. Cut the shit.
Right.
Don't fuck me on this, Phil. Tell me what happened.
So he says, all right, I'll tell you.
It was a pretty good argument the night before.
Yeah.
But I didn't kill her. Actually, I kind of did.
Yeah, kind of.
I kind of did.
Yeah.
But I didn't kill her. Well, actually, I kind of did.
And then he laughs.
So he says he goes to Burger King to have his coffee for 15 hours. He gets home and he sees Roberta sleeping on the couch. And he goes to the basement and like he tries to make up some lie about hearing her fall off the couch. Missy's not having it. He's like, all right, what I actually did was I picked up a fucking sledgehammer.
Oh,
I mean, a fucking sledgehammer. And he goes upstairs and bashes her in the head with it.
Like, you kind of can't believe it because Missy's like, how many hits was it? Was it like one hit? Was it?
Missy,
and I'm sitting there like devastated to
Yeah.
hear him say the words with this matter-of-fact tone. He was just laughing about it.
Yeah.
And then like Missy's like, yeah, but the details though.
Right. Missy.
Missy.
And she's like, was there a lot of blood? He was like, there's enough. And like, we just got the logistics. He put the pillow she had been sleeping on in a plastic bag. He put like all of the bloody stuff in one of those Rubbermaid containers and like admits to putting her body in a different Rubbermaid container and then puts it in the back of the truck and like drives off to go dump the body.
And he's like, I didn't feel relieved until I was in Kentucky. So
Yeah.
now we know Kentucky.
And so then now she's like, oh, look at the time. I must be going.
Like Missy gets exactly what she wants. And
yeah.
Exactly. She's like, well, that's it for me. Thanks so much. Same time, same place tomorrow.
And he goes, you owe me a kiss before you leave.
You owe
And a
me
lot of trust.
A peck on the cheek.
I do. Yes, I do.
On the way out of here.
Okay.
A big wet one.
All right.
And he goes, a big wet one.
No!
And I
know.
am just like flames on the side of my face. Like I am so if you could see me now, listeners, clenched face, clenched. It's just disgusting. And then Missy's like, ugh. So you can feel like she doesn't want to smooch him, and like on the cheek or whatever. And then she just goes, "Doesn't it feel good, Phil, to let it out? Doesn't it feel good?" And he's like, it really does. It just feels great.
So the cops who've been bugging this place, they've got all the information, and now we're getting the like, all right, he just confessed to his wife's murder. They're like, remember, he's gonna go kill Missy's mom. We gotta go get this guy now. He is unpredictable.
Right. So they have the warrants this minute to arrest him for Roberta's death, and also to prevent yet another murder.
Totally. So the chief that's been with us the whole time goes to his house. He's not there. Drives to the Burger King where he knows he probably is. He walks in and we see the body cam. Yep. We see this moment.
Our friend Chrissy's there, the manager, who's like, finally, this guy who's banging on the counter and whistling at me. He's finally getting his comeuppance.
He's throwing an extra 10 years for that, Judge.
Oh my God, seriously.
So we see the cop go over to Phil. Phil's like, oh, hey, man. Gives him a fist bump. The cop is like so vindicated. He's so excited to be arresting this guy. And he's like, so bad news.
The bad news is I got a warrant for your arrest.
Phil thinks he's joking. He cannot believe it.
He's like, that's hilarious, Carl.
Yeah.
Coffee's on me. And so then we get Phil at the station. Again, body cams for days.
We see everything.
And Phil's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
This is ridiculous. And they're like, well, no, it's not. We're charging you with aggravated murder. And he goes, how are you going to do that? And they're like, well, and while they're telling him, like, you are like under arrest for murdering Roberta, Phil's big concern, not the murder charge. Yeah. He's got to call Missy. They have plans to commit murder. The love of his life. No, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Police chief. He's going to marry Missy. They're going to murder her mom, and off they will drive into the sunset with $900 a month.
So all of a sudden, the big reveal. I'm sure all of you know what's happening.
I mean, the second I heard, the second I saw the footage of this like hot woman being like, hey, Phil, because here's Missy, and she's not Missy.
No.
Her name is Joan Bauer. She's a fucking cop.
Yeah, and she goes,
I was home with my family, sitting with my husband as the phone call comes through. And I am a little bit shocked. It raises your blood pressure back up. He's trying to carry our plan out. Honestly, I was just really hoping that his attorney would explain to him super quick that I was a police officer and not his friend.
You know right away. Like if you're Phil and you're at the police station and like you have committed the quote perfect murder, the only person you've ever told is Missy, and now you're being arrested, wouldn't you know?
And you told her 20 minutes ago.
Right.
And she was like, ooh, would you look at the time? And bailed, and now she's arrested, and now you're arrested,
right.
Phil. So we learn about Joan / Missy, and she's married. She has 6 kids.
6 kids. She looks great.
Great. She's like, I have a hobby farm. I love my life. I love my family. I worked as a cop. I did like a lot of undercover work, but I was super over it. And then I saw this story, this monster Phil on the news, and I was like, you know
bet
what?
I could get him to talk.
And guess what? So she calls Chief Larry, and he's like, you know what? You're fucking in. Let's do this.
Yeah, and we learned kind of the logistics of undercover work like this.
Joan had to be very careful about what she did. First of all, a female would not be allowed to utilize her feminine charms in order to elicit a confession from a person. That could erode the quality of the case.
And she's like disgusted. She even says, she's like, it makes me sick that I even had to like play it up that much.
The fact that he says wet one,
I
like
know.
it makes me want to vomit.
But she says, she was like, oh yeah, before you ask, I carried my gun at all times. Just in case the shit went south, I was on it. I trust Missy / Joan with my life at this point.
Same, but she also says, like, she wasn't allowed to get him to do things that he wouldn't have otherwise done. So it's not like she could have been like, we're going to try to get you for your wife, but we can't get you for that. So we're going to have you actually go kill another person so we can arrest you for that. You can't do that either. Like, she was legally walking a tightrope, and she did it. She fucking nailed it. She's incredible.
And it's such a let the women do the work thing because she came up with that whole story. Joan, Missy, was just like, no, I'm going to be divorced, so I'm single.
I had said that I was recently divorced so that there wouldn't be someone tying up my life. I was trying to mirror my life next to his so that we would have more in common and more things to talk about.
So it's April 23rd, 2018, and Phil is charged with aggravated murder, tampering with evidence, gross abuse of a corpse, and he's looking at life without parole. And so the son, Kenny, is just saying to him, like,
the week before the trial was to begin, I begged him, please don't make us go through this. You were offered a plea deal in the very beginning, and please don't make the family and don't make everybody go through this trial.
And so they offer a plea deal, which is 20 years to life. All the other charges, like whatever he would get for that, would run concurrently. But the caveat is that Phil's got to take them to where he dumped the body.
And he's in his late 70s. He's dying in prison.
Totally. And so they do this whole, like, we see him in court, and the judge says, in order to accept this plea deal, are you going to take them to where you dumped the body? The fucking guy goes,
If I have to, yes.
And then he keeps lying. So we're like in the car.
We don't actually get to see them in the car,
Yeah.
but like we are told the story of when he's taking them to where he dumped the body.
And they're like on the road.
Yeah.
And he just keeps lying. He's like, there, no, there.
This exit, no. This exit, no.
And the cops are like screaming at him in the car. There's like a fight in the car about where the fucking body is because Phil, God damn it. Like do the right, maybe for your son.
For your son. They end up encountering like a local sheriff's deputy, and Phil's like, so I killed my wife and I lied about all the places I said she was, but I remember the area had this and this and this. And the sheriff's deputy is like, that's the next exit.
Right.
And so they go to the next exit. Phil is screaming at the top of his lungs. He's like, this is it. I remember it. And this is really tragic.
Yeah.
Because what we find out is that he had murdered her, put her in the trunk, taken her to this like bar and grill off the highway where he put her body in a dumpster. And then so the deputies are like, we're going to go to this landfill. This whole story takes place over like just a little over a month, which is bananas.
And I'm thinking about with the undercover stuff, this is not Donnie Brasco where it was like 10 years of the guy's life. Missy did this for a month. She was still going home to her husband and 6 kids.
Totally. And you think that it's going to be like over years, but it's not. So like they're thinking if we can get to the landfill and find out where this dumpster would have been dumped in the landfill, maybe we can find her remains. And they get there and the landfill people are super helpful, but they're like...
The landfill manager explained to me that it would be not possible to find any remains under those circumstances.
Even just it being like 6 weeks, too much time has passed. You're never gonna find her.
And I was so like devastated to hear it, but it's kind of an empowering ending, right? Because the family decides to put a memorial marker in a cemetery for Roberta, and it's right next to Roberta's mother's grave, and they use her maiden name, not Phil's name, which I was like, I could cry about it.
I mean, she gave this family like decades of her life, all of her life.
Like, and she was so kind and loving, and all the scrapbooks. They have so many memories of her, which I think is really beautiful. And of course, the townspeople love Missy. They're like, oh, like along came Missy, and we got Phil.
And she's like the new local cop now.
Right, she's like a superhero. And it ends by, we learn that there's a Roberta Bobby Heisler Memorial Fund benefiting Domestic Violence Project.
Yeah.
And so you can go to starkcf.org/give-Bobby. I'm going to donate.
Yeah.
You should donate.
We will donate on behalf of the podcast. Absolutely.
Right? But it's such an empowering, where it's like something happened, like they did something, they're trying to help other people, and fuck Phil, and hi, Kenny and your wife. Please come over for dinner. I'd love to host you.
Yeah, we love you guys.
Love you.
Oh, you guys, we did when Phil met Missy. This was a really, really good documentary. Discovery Plus, you guys are knocking it out of the park. Unraveled. And Unraveled, by the way, has multiple seasons covering different cases. I cannot wait.
Oh, we're doing all of them.
I know.
They also have like standalone Keith Morrison Investigates.
I know.
Do you know how I feel about Keith? But yeah, I'm so glad this was a hit. It was one of those things where I watched it and I was like, oh my God, we're changing the schedule.
Look, Jillian is really on top of the schedule, you guys. I'm like, every day I see emails, I'm like, you're amazing. I will do whatever you say.
I'm working on it.
You guys join us on the Patreon. Over 250 full ad-free bonus episodes to download and binge. We just are in the midst of finishing up Preppy Murder. We're going into the Gacy thing for Peacock.
Yeah.
We did Night Stalker and the Menendez murders and the Lacey Peterson, the full Lacey Peterson 6-episode thing.
Yeah, and the Jinx and Tiger King, everything.
Serial season 1. Every long form thing is there. We also have ad-free versions of these episodes. What are we doing next, girl?
This is a really seriously pull over. This is really big news.
Is it time?
Yeah, we're doing, for real, we're doing West of Memphis.
Oh, tell them why.
So
tell them why we haven't done it till now.
Yeah, we haven't done West of Memphis because I and Mike are like, we're family basically close with Damian Eccles and Lori Davis. I never wanted to do it. Damian and Lori were like, do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It was a me thing. I didn't want to do it for reasons I will tell you in an after party and also next week when we cover it. But there's a lot of stuff happening with his case now and evidence and stuff about Arkansas. I talked about it on the Ladies Who Lunch Insta Live. But also August 11th is the 10-year anniversary of their release. case.
Yeah.
And because there is so much happening with the case, we want to spread awareness. And Damien reassured me that it's all in my head. They are thrilled that we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So we are doing West of Memphis in 2 parts because it's 2.5 hours. Natalie Maines is involved, so that'll be fun.
Natalie Maines just like rips the rug right out from under some piece of shit. I can't. It's the best.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time coming, and it's all happened really fast, and I never thought we'd do it, but we are.
I'm so excited to
and
do this with you.
With their blessings,
Yeah.
so I'm thrilled to do it, and more awareness. That's how we do this. We keep talking about the case, so we're going to do it.
Yes. So stay tuned for the trailer for West of Memphis, and then the ridiculous and hilarious outtakes. Girl, I love you.
I love you.
We love you guys. Thank you for listening and making this our job.
Yeah, we're going to gush about Natalie Maines and Eddie Vedder.
Oh
the
my
whole
God, I
time.
love her so much.
Oh my God.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Nothing ever happens in West Memphis, Arkansas.
We've had 3 children missing since last night.
3 young boys murdered in cold blood.
It appeared that they had been sexually mutilated.
Is it your opinion that these crimes were motivated by occult beliefs?
Yes.
Arrested at 2:44 p.m., charged with 3 counts of capital murder.
Life imprisonment without parole.
A statement was put in his mouth by the police.
They beat up all 3 of them.
Then they tied him.
Then they tied them up.
Here's the state of Arkansas refusing to let the truth shine on this case.
Did Damien invite you to some meeting?
Satanic meeting. I was just a big liar, and I really was.
You're dealing with a horrendous crime. It warps their judgment.
There's careers at stake.
The option to reopen the case was presented to him, and he went, no, we found them guilty, we're done.
We don't believe the people of Arkansas are going to be satisfied until there is a new trial.
Not only is the state getting away with it, but the person who killed those 3 kids is still out there walking on the street.
Remember the time we were going to a convention that was in
the Grand Ole Opry?
It was in Nashville,
Yeah.
and I got us airplane tickets to Memphis because that's where I thought it was.
I do. We didn't fly in there.
No, but it cost us $2,000 to change our tickets.
Because it was the day before that you realized.
I really,
Or
and
Steve realized.
It was only because Steve was like, "Wait, sorry." As we're going out the door, where are you going?
going?
Memphis. No, it's in Nashville, girl. You can't even really. I was really looking at it. You can't even really pull over without being in mortal danger yourself.
Also, Phil, how dare you with the pullover? That's our shit. Don't try to take that with a lie about poor Roberta.
No.
You're not allowed to use that term, Phil.
Get out of here,
we
Phil.
say pullover, not you. Phil, you've done horrible things here.
You're in big trouble now, Phil. You made her mad. You made her mad.
And guess what? I was already mad. I told the people to pull over. I told them not to even start their cars today because of you, Phil. God.
Do you think he's paid at the 5?
I hate him. I don't want his money. I don't want his $5. The one time there's a murder in this town, gosh darn it, we're going to solve it. It's never happened.
You guys, it's one murder. Can you imagine if they had 2 to work on?
I mean.
There's a 3rd murder in Hartsville.
Way too much. Multitasking.
Don't fuck me on this.
Don't fuck me on this, Missy. We can't be meeting in Hartville anymore. Don't fuck me on this. Too much heat on me.